Denton Community Television, operated by the Mayborn School of Journalism, the University of North Texas.
Hi, I'm Mike Miller. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'm really honored today to have a guest who's one of the favorite jazz drummers in the Denton, Texas area, a man who has served as an educator through UNT, teaching percussion for many years. And Ron, I appreciate you being here very much.
It's nice to be here.
And how many years did you teach at UNT?
35.
35.
Yes, 1964 I arrived. And it was about this kind of weather, so it was sort of a shock since I came from Illinois. And I recall that we came down the Oklahoma Turnpike at night because it was cooler, but it was still probably 90. We had a black Chevrolet Impala convertible.
Really?
With a baby in the back seat who was probably 5 months old or whatever. And we were going, oh my gosh, what are we getting into? But 35 great years. And
even back then, the UNT had a well-noted music department and percussion department.
Oh, absolutely. And I had read about North Texas in the Downbeat magazine, which I would regularly read, and it had a nice article about the lab band and that they had won the Notre Dame Jazz Festival, which was the crowning achievement of any lab band.
Really?
They went up there and they just took them by storm. And one of the judges was Stan Kenton. And
Is that right?
After the North Texas band played, Stan Kenton roared up to the stage to talk to Leon Breeden and said, "My faith in jazz has just been enlivened by hearing that performance, and I'm so proud that you've taken these young people to this height." I mean, they just were like so good. They were so much better than any other college band, and so I knew about North Texas.
And it was such a large department, it eventually just became a college of music.
Yes, it is a college of music, and people say it's the largest in the country or second, but it depends on, I don't know, Indiana University is the one that's the other large school. And it's not the quantity, it's the quality. And I think we got a lot of quality. And if you check the roster of musicians over there in the music school, they're coming from everywhere. I mean, fantastic players from every country around the world.
Yeah, Europe, Canada.
Yes. And most of them are very serious and eventually make the best band. It's a graduation process. They don't come in here by storm and hop right in the 1 o'clock. They usually need some work, whether it's improvisation or reading ability. Something's usually a little bit lacking. But yeah, I'm very proud of the students that we had in the percussion area particularly. And I don't know if you want me to name drop, but
well, I was kind
they're out there.
I remember the guy who ended up playing drums with David Lee Roth's solo project.
That's Greg Bissonette.
Bissonette.
And he, I think they actually stopped the audition when he went in because he just overwhelmed them.
Yeah.
I think there was a line of drummers wanting that job.
I bet.
And he just went in and blew them away. Of course, he's great at doing homework. And Greg's a dear friend. When I retired, we had a final concert over in the Vertman Hall.
Really?
And he was our guest artist.
Is that right?
Yeah, so he was on one side of the stage and I was on the other side of the stage. I had an old set of drums.
Yeah.
With the old picture, the vintage. and he had all these cymbals
Yeah.
and drums, and I mean, it was just like he had an incredible amount of drums. So that was the fun part, because he would play his thing, and then I would play my thing, which was like decades earlier style of like Gene Krupa,
Yeah.
you know, with tom-tom solos and things like that. And then when it shifted over to him, I had prepared a drumstick with a white flag on it that I was waving. You know, I give up, I surrender. Well, Greg Bissonette was, he's one of the best. And, well, let's see, we got a guy that's playing with Sting and with
Sting, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I've always liked their music.
yeah,
Sting and
Keith
Police.
Carlock. He was one of our students, a terrific kid. And we've got, let's see, we got Rascal Flatts drummer is Jim Riley. We got a guy playing with Dwight Yoakam, Mitch Marine.
I remember quite a few
Remember
people
Mitch Marine?
would, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I knew people would go to Nashville sometimes just from
Oh,
UNT,
yeah,
just
yeah,
straight to
yeah.
from UNT to Nashville.
Yeah, and Rich Redmond is playing with Jason Aldean right now.
Oh, uh-huh.
I just saw one of our students at a vintage drum show in Chicago, Jason Sutter. Now, he's had a strange career, and he's not a strange guy. He's a great drummer. He played with Foreigner. Then he went with Marilyn Manson. I don't know if he did all the makeup or what. And then now he's going out with Smash Mouth.
Really?
Now these are names
Yeah.
that are Greek to me. I don't follow those bands, but I know the young drummers love that sort of stuff.
That's true.
Yeah, and we've had other guys that have been on the Saturday Night Live band.
Is that right?
Yeah. Rick Latham, who's one of our graduates, is touring all over Europe with clinics. He's written a book on funk drumming, which is like a very excellent read. I'm probably just going to stop there because I'll leave people out that have done great things. And
I should have researched people who've graduated too. I just happened to remember Greg Bissonette.
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
I remember seeing those videos on VH1 with David Lee Roth, you know, and he just, his coordination and everything just blew my mind. I couldn't believe all the different things he could do, you know.
Right now, this is interesting. He and Ringo Starr are a team.
Really?
When Ringo goes out and plays with his band,
The All-Stars.
Greg will either play some of the set or, well, Ringo's maybe doing something else, talking to the audience or whatever.
Singing.
But Greg has definitely researched Ringo's playing and has presented clinics. So they're very good friends, and I think he's included on all of the tours that he does.
Really?
Yeah, that's sort of interesting. You know, that's 50 years old, that Ed Sullivan appearance, when the Beatles first played.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also am into collecting drum sets, and that Black Oyster Pearl finish of Ludwig that says Beatles on the head, those are still selling for big dollars.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if you had a set, I don't know, well, you'd ask $5,000 for it on eBay and probably get it.
Mm-hmm.
But those are very sought after because people remember that.
Mm-hmm. What kind of drums does Ringo play these days, do you think?
I would imagine that he might still be with Ludwig.
Yeah, yeah.
I could be wrong. There's some other excellent drum companies out there. The major ones are hanging on, and but one of the newer ones, Drum Workshop, is a very quality set of drums. And I go to a vintage drum show every year in Chicago, and I walk around and see all of the 200 different dealers that have their stuff, and there are drum makers coming out of the woodwork.
I'm sure.
That are making their own.
And drumstick companies.
Yeah, it's, I particularly like the vintage drums, the old drums, not the new stuff that's being made today. I mean, it's good, but I'd rather play on something that's old like me.
Has a good rich sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've been involved with the Percussive Arts Society a number of years.
Yeah. That started at a convention, I think it's 1961, at a Midwest band convention in Chicago. And it was, I can't name them all, but Remo Belli, who makes the drum heads, my old percussion teacher, Jack McKenzie, some executives of drum companies decided that we ought to have a society. And just that group of 8 or 10 people at a dinner said, let's have a society, and that's how it started. And I got involved early on, and I think it's because I did a research on percussion curriculum.
Oh, really?
And I needed names and addresses of all the teachers around the country, and there weren't many when I first started.
It was a very specialized.
I was the only full-time percussion teacher in Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
You were one of the first full-time percussion teachers at UNT?
I was the first full-time.
Is that right?
Now, there might have been guys teaching percussion, but their other duties were like lab marching band or something else, because they didn't have the full load. But I was like loaded with private students and percussion ensemble and teaching percussion methods. And I still get feedback from percussion methods people who are out there in the field and say, man, yeah, that was really a good class. One of them's Tom Malone. Another one was Lou Marini, the Blues Brothers guys.
Really?
They had to take the class.
Yeah.
Because it's in their degree plan, and other guys that I see. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah. In graduate school is when you started getting into timpani pretty much?
Graduate school
working on your
at
master.
Illinois, we just basically studied out of one book, the Goldenberg book. I mean, the Goodman book. Saul Goodman, who was New York.
Saul Goodman.
Philharmonic timpanist.
And then you started working, you were assigned to work with Al Payson.
Yeah, that was interesting. Paul Price was the percussion teacher at Illinois, and that in itself was a bit of a rarity because, you know, that you couldn't get a degree in percussion hardly at any school.
Yeah.
But Illinois was one of the first.
Really?
They pioneered a degree in percussion in music education as your emphasis, and Price was the leader. So I grew up in Illinois. It was only natural that I went there. And
so
he
was before Juilliard and places like that had things like that.
I'm not sure of the history of what their degree plans were like.
I never knew
but
much about it.
They did have percussion teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah. William Street was at Eastman. I know that. Juilliard had Mo Goldenberg and Saul Goodman, who were in the Philharmonic. And so it was just like a little part-time thing, but you got to study with some pretty heavyweight people.
Yeah. But Al Payson has done a lot over the years.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Back to Al Payson. Price was like totally loaded with students, and my emphasis, I was a good snare drummer, so he took me under his class load for snare drum, which is great. But he couldn't teach me mallets, and I hadn't had mallets, but I had piano, so I mean I could read music. And he said, "Well, I'll let you study with one of my graduate assistant." He only had one, I think, and I did really fine with him, and we're still like great friends. And but it turns out it's Al Payson, and he's been with the Chicago Symphony he's retired, but I don't know how many years, and so he had the cream of the crop type percussion job when he got out of Illinois. So that didn't demean in any way my having to study with a graduate assistant who probably could play circles around Paul Price on the mallets. Anyway, Price was a timpanist mainly and a good snare drummer. So then when Price left, Jack McKenzie came in, who was, he taught at Illinois probably 40 years, had a great career and turned out lots of good students. And I had a wonderful relationship with him too. But that Percussive Arts Society, Jack was one of the ringleaders of getting it started. I was the vice president of that association for 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And it was pretty much national.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was national.
Most universities participated in that.
It absolutely flowered. It grew tremendously.
Yearly events and
yes.
camps.
Well, we used to not even like have conventions, but then when we did start, I mean, they were enormously successful. I mean, you're talking like 5,000 people showing up. Can you imagine that many drummers in one place? And so they have great clinics. They have booths with all of the latest drumming and books and things like that.
I've seen those books for years, and just I noticed you know drum sections from all over the United States and percussion ensembles and performances that they were doing. And
well, see, our own drumline guys are like champs of the contests up there. They win whenever they go.
Yeah.
To compete, and so you know when those kind of things happen, that's what draws more excellent students because they say, "Wow, that drum line, I want to go there. I want to be in there. I want to be involved."
See these
Even
people.
Greg Bissonette was in the drum line.
Is that right?
Yeah, when he came here, and he didn't start in the 1 o'clock band. He, well, maybe the 6 or something, but that's the way it works. You get all that experience, get all the chops together, and you grow and you learn from everyone else, and eventually, as an upperclassman, you climb the ladder.
And you were involved with the instrumentalists for a number of years.
Yeah, that was sort of a sideline. They wanted somebody to write the column, and I would draw on certain resources around here, have panel discussions, and write articles and things like that.
How long did you do that?
Oh, I don't know if that was more than 4 or 5 years.
Oh,
Yeah. But while I was teaching here, I was also playing. And just like the fact that there were few percussion teachers in the country, see, there wasn't even one at the University of Texas in Austin when I got here.
really?
A friend of mine who was at Illinois called me and said, "Hey, Ron, I've been looking at this job. They're offering a UT. Should I take it?" I said, "Jump on it." And he was there ever since.
That's good.
And he's retired now, but he was a colleague up in Illinois.
That's great.
So we were actually a jump ahead of UT in Austin as far as percussion. But
Well, it's kind of stayed like that, hasn't it?
I'm sorry.
It's kind of stayed like that over the years, hasn't it?
Between you and I. No, what I forgot. Let's go back to the question that I got off on. You just said something.
The instrumentalist. Or
Yeah, we're past that.
The Percussive Arts Society.
Yeah.
But you and some other professors, y'all got a grant and did a harmonic analysis of timpani spectrum.
Yeah, that, and then we presented the research at one of our conventions.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they were physicists, and they really had all of the graphs down on the digital. You know, you hit a drum and you could see all of this. And so we had a rather famous timpanist coming to school, and so we were going to like record all of this. We had, I don't know how many drums, how many kettle drums on stage, like I mean, 8 to 10, all good quality. And then we had like 1 or 2 excellent timpanists, graduate students, and me, and the artist Cloyd Duff, Cleveland Symphony. And we each took turns striking maybe the same or different drum.
Yeah.
And they recorded what the sound was like. And so we threw into the mix, well, maybe the stroke. Where is the best sound on the drum? And
you have to go in at least about 10 inches or something.
Yeah. You don't want to play too close to the edge.
Too close to the edge.
Too close to the middle.
Yeah.
That was another thing we did. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I was playing a lot when I first got here because, like I was saying, there weren't many percussionists around the country. And then there weren't that many drummers that read drum set and could play all the percussion stuff like when you play a show. So my good friend Jack Rumbly was like the man. He could do it all. He and I played in the Fort Worth Symphony together, and we remained friends forever. And I would cover some things for him. He would cover things for me. Between the two of us, we were like coming and going down the highway. We played the Miss Texas pageants, the Disney shows. He played Casa Mananas. I played Miss Teenage Americas. I did the Republican Convention in '84. Ice shows. Any entertainer that came in would want a band, and I would contract. I would get the musicians.
You formed the band.
I got the musicians because they were only coming into Dallas, let's say 1 night, maybe 2, and then they'd move on.
Yeah.
And they get a different band in Houston. Why you can't carry 20 some people with you from date to date?
Yeah.
And this is back in 77, 78, I think, that I went out with Tom Jones and then Engelbert Humperdinck.
Really?
On 2 separate occasions. And then we did...
and did y'all do Las Vegas or?
No, because they have bands.
They have bands out there already for that.
Plenty of musicians there. But
yeah.
we crisscrossed Texas. I think it was with Tom Jones that we started in Amarillo, and then we worked our way across, played Dallas, and we ended up all the way over to Shreveport.
Yeah. With
shows. And I actually, from Houston to here to do this show, I actually got to fly in his plane with his nucleus.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. But anyway, Liza Minnelli and Joel Gray we did too. We did their shows at the State Fair Music Hall, Harry Connick, a few others like that. This is sort of dropped off because they're self-contained these days mostly. They bring their own people. So they're playing got less and less.
Yeah, they bring a smaller group of people, and then do they play more with tracks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to the ice shows and the...
what is that, ice shows?
Ice Capades.
Oh, okay, Ice Capades.
Disney on Ice, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I think they still do those. We got a short amount of time maybe, but I brought in all of these books on toys, which is my hobby. And
what are some of your favorite toys?
Well, obviously I'm a toy soldier guy.
Okay, yeah, toy soldier.
That's like a phone book size index of toy soldiers.
A lot of companies made toy soldiers.
When I was a kid, I would go to the dime store and get toy soldiers. Now that's cast iron. That's a little bit ahead of my era, but this lead guy is what I collected, and I loved them at the dime stores.
I remember these.
And then they, this is early plastic.
Yeah.
And
they made millions of these.
Then they made rubber. They even did composition during World War II.
And there were some big ones that weren't there that like G.I. Joe, is that?
Oh, well, that's my son's era.
Yeah.
You skipped a decade or two on me. There was a company that made soldiers that were higher, and they were supposed to resemble MacArthur and
oh yeah
others, and they were the Miller Company out of Quincy, Illinois.
Really?
Yeah. I got credit for a picture on that. I went to Quincy, Illinois, and I looked up the place and took a picture, and I think it's in here.
Really?
Yeah.
What year did this book come out?
Oh my gosh.
A while back.
By the way, that's the third edition.
Third edition, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I don't know, 90s. 97.
97.
And I knew Richard O'Brien.
Cool.
He did this book.
Now what's this?
Richard O'Brien did this book. That's all American Toys.
American Toys.
And the histories of the companies. This is my friend Jack Matthews, Toys Go to War.
Yeah.
It's puzzles and
game boards,
paper, and there's some. I think these are my pictures.
Forts. Oh, really? Those are your
pictures? I got
pictures?
credit for those forts.
Really?
Yeah. And Richard O'Brien did a book on collecting toys,
yeah,
cars and trucks. And the first edition, I looked at it and I said, Richard, there's a lot of stuff you don't have in there. He said, really? He said, send it on. Well, I sent him a whole bunch of stuff. And he says, thanks for all the additions, and I'm all over the place in this book.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, and it's cars and trucks.
Cars and
more
trucks.
Specialized.
Yeah. And you have a lot of these at your home.
Yes, I do. And here's collecting toys, 7th edition, and I think there's maybe an 8th.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Mr. O'Brien has passed away, and if these are coming out anymore today, they're by another author.
Yeah.
With his stuff, but I never had a chance to meet him, which I regret. But he did a wonderful service to the toy collectors.
That's great.
It's amazing.
It takes somebody like that to put all that together and create all that history for the rest of us to refer to. You know.
Great research.
That's a lot of hours of work to put together a book like that.
Well, like if you were going to collect those toys, I was always curious, how many are there?
Yeah.
Who made them? Where did they make them?
Yeah.
And I found all of that stuff out. It's in here.
Yeah.
There's a picture of every soldier of the various companies.
Yeah.
And so I've put them in the numerical order in my cabinets, and except for a handful of rare birds, I got most of them, and very appreciative of being able to find them before they got so pricey.
Yeah. Well, Ron, I really appreciate you coming down and sharing all this information with us, and thank you so much, and thank you all for watching, and hope you have a great day.